Worse than the Holocaust.
It's
Worse than the Rwandan genocide. You know what it's called? It's called manspreading. One dislike on this video and I'll kill myself. I promise.
I'll dislike it.
One day you'll choke and I'll be happy. I'll show you work.
Like I'm happy when you're choking.
I fucking walked right into that one, didn't I? Oh my god, idiot.
What's going on, guys? As promised, a discussion for all of you. We've done the
Wow,
thrift tips.
do you want to kill yourself? You sound like you want to kill yourself.
Shit, I kind of do. The layout of this video is going to be 3 topics of discussion. We're going to be comparing fast fashion to designer based on 3 different kind of categories. The first one being business model, the second one being
Business model, value, shelf life. Government enforced homosexuality in 2020. Trust me. Trust me. For the business model of fast fashion, it revolves around 3 key concepts. The first being that they keep production costs low by producing in bulk and also by using very cheap materials. And the second point ties into the first point, and that's because they can sell at very low prices because the production costs are so low. And the third point is that they design their clothing in a way to make sure that it's obsolete by the end of the season, if not earlier. These 3 concepts in turn force the consumer to keep coming back to the store and buying more clothing because their clothing wears down a lot faster because the quality is not so good, and because the clothing is so cheap so they don't care if they're buying like more than they need to. To further expand upon the point on which they create obsolescence of their clothing, pretty much what they do is they create multiple seasons throughout the actual season. So someone like Supreme, they'll do autumn, winter, then spring, summer. So they've got like 2 seasons, right? And that takes up what? Like 26 weeks each? Meanwhile, fast fashion, their seasons consist of 4 to 6 weeks each. So what does that mean? That means in one typical Supreme season, you have like 5 to 6 fast fashion seasons. So in one season of Supreme where you buy something at the start of the season and it looks good to the end of the season, you buy something at the start of the season for fast fashion, and 6 times over, it'll look bad. Every season it'll look worse and worse.
Yeah, since like you keep coming back to the store and seeing new stuff, the stuff that you bought prior just looks completely out of date by the time that next year rolls up.
Let's play the penis game. Penis. Penis.
The business model of designer clothing is very different from that of fast fashion because of the hierarchy in a designer brand. So for example, a designer brand has a creative director, and that individual, that one person, is responsible for producing clothing and making new designs for that designer brand. So the very big difference between that and fast fashion is this concept of reputation. So when you buy from a designer brand, you're expecting them to hold a certain quality of their clothing because you're paying so much more for it. Think of this as a currency peg. So basically in the stock market, when a currency is pegged to another currency, the movement of that first currency affects the movement of the currency that's pegged to it, right? So for example, the Hong Kong dollar is pegged to the US dollar. So if the US dollar goes up, the Hong Kong dollar is going to fluctuate based on that, right? So if the quality of clothing and designer fluctuates in quality, so does that designer's or that creative director's reputation. With that being said, because there's somebody to blame for discrepancies in designer clothing, designers or creative directors are going to try their best to maintain a certain level of quality or even enhance that level of quality during the time that they're working for that specific designer brand. This actually also adds a human element to designer clothing that is not present in fast fashion, in that when you buy designer clothing, you are buying from almost a specific individual, and you're buying almost like a piece of that individual, right? You want like a piece of their flesh. A piece of their mind.
I don't see it.
You're buying their art almost.
A piece of their mind made by someone in India. We gotta fuck the algorithm in the ass, bro.
Now value can be broken up into 2 different things. That is personal value, so how much respect you have for your clothing, how you treat it, how much value it has to you personally, and then how much value it has to the general public, meaning how much value it has in the resale market.
Based on all the points that we talked about for the business model side of fast fashion, it's kind of obvious to say that fast fashion clothing doesn't really hold a lot of value for people who buy it because they know that they can replace it so quickly based on the fact that it's so cheap to buy. So instead of having to take care of their clothes because they spent a lot of money on it and it'll be very hard to replace it, they have to spend a lot of time working or something, they know that if it gets a stain on it, if it gets dirty, if they fall in the mud or whatever, I don't know, we're talking about like 3-year-olds or something, but if they like fall in the mud or something, they can just like go back to wherever they bought it and purchase a new one for $24 or, you know, $14 or whatever it is.
And that's the general public, but there's obviously people who don't do that. But even to those people, how much respect can you have for something that's like completely faded out after the 5th wash?
Yeah, how much respect can you have for something that, even though you're taking care of it, it's not taking care of you? You feel me? Amen. Preacher. Amen, sister. Amen. Hell, take us to church, baby. Take us to church. Hell. For the aftermarket value of clothing in general, this is where the opinion of other people comes into play. And the opinion of other people on fast fashion is generally like, what's the point of even looking to buy it aftermarket if I can just go to the store myself and not have any hassle, not have to, you know, contact people, just buy it on the spot, brand new, no one's worn it, for maybe like $10 more than what they're selling it for. In that regard, fast fashion has literally zero aftermarket presence or aftermarket value. I'm sure people do try to sell it.
But even if you do, you're not going to make any profits off of it. You're not going to be able to sell it for face value.
Yeah.
The second you buy it, it decreases in value just completely.
Hi guys, I'm insecure about my mangina.
Adam Stitzer, little saggy today. I feel like the biggest difference, in my opinion, between designer and fast fashion is the idea of value. I'm going to start with the monetary value it has to the resale market and just in general the public, and that is it maintains its value. It increases its value if that piece has been worn by a famous celebrity. That's really important because people, even if they don't want to admit it, they really look up to the opinions of others. They really are drawn towards people who, you know, inspire them. So they kind of want a, you know, like a general, they just want to be like them, right? And clothing is a very good way of presenting yourself like somebody else, so people buy into that. Let's move on to the personal side of value of designer clothing, and that is how a person treats their clothing when they buy designer. And I think it's very safe to say that when you spend a lot of money on something, you tend to treat it with more respect. This can be explained by a sort of simple formula, and that is time and energy equals money, money equals respect, right? So when you buy designer clothing and you're saving up money, you're saving up this anticipation, it's kind of like bottled up inside you. You plan to get something, and you're going through all the processes you need to be able to save up for that one thing, and you finally get it, you're going to treat it with much more respect than something that you buy just on the fly. So with that being said, the respect that was once held towards your money is now translated to the thing that you use your money to attain, and that is your clothing. There's obviously people who buy into designer clothing because they have money and they don't really look at the value of it just because they didn't, I don't want to say earn their money, but because their money comes to them easier, they don't really hold the same amount of respect for it than somebody, for example, who would save up for that piece. So it doesn't pertain to everybody, but I would say the vast majority of people, for example, watching this channel would, I think, fit more into the box of having to save up money for designer clothing. Yeah. Another really good reason as to why somebody would treat their designer clothing better than anything else is due to the fact that it has a presence in the aftermarket. So if they do ever want to resell their clothing, it is in their benefit, it's in their best interest to maintain that value through treating the article of clothing with respect, with care, not, you know, just throw it out, throw it around, not throw it out, that wouldn't be good. You can't sell something you throw out.
Washing machine for babies like the sickest roller coaster of all time. So if it's not already obvious by now, the shelf life of fast fashion is not too great. The quality of the clothing means that it won't last too long in your closet because it deteriorates so quickly. It's not too resellable in the market because people aren't really looking for it, and if they are looking for it, they want it at deeply discounted prices, so you won't be making a lot of money off of it. You'll actually be losing a lot of money. It just won't look good also because of the obsolescence that's kind of built into every fast fashion piece. Similarly to how it was pretty obvious that fast fashion
does not have a very long shelf life. I think you can make the assumption by now, you can make the conclusion that designer clothing has a much longer shelf life than fast fashion. It retains its value in the aftermarket, so you will be treating it better just in case you want to sell it. It costs a lot of money, so the time and effort that you put into actually saving up money in order to attain it will make you just have more respect for it. We don't want you to get the wrong impression here that we're trying to make anybody feel bad about buying fast fashion, because we're not at all. We believe that any clothing that you put on, any outfit that you make that looks good, simply looks good because it looks good. Not because of a price tag on clothing, not because of anything else besides your ability to match things up, to create unique creative outfits, right? And we feel that there is actually a culture surrounding designer clothing that is extremely cringy and
Toxic.
very, very toxic, exactly.
Yeah.
And that they buy clothing just to almost show off. People buy clothing not to be unique with it, not to make creative outfits out of it, not to have designer clothing that's going to last them a long time, but simply just to flex on their friends, flex to the public. And I think that I can say for the both of us that we find that worse than people who mindlessly buy fast fashion clothing. I hope, we hope, Adam hopes that you guys enjoyed this. Only Adam, I don't give a fuck. So if you guys like this video, let Adam know by leaving a like and a comment. And this is only for Adam, I really don't care. You can email us at our email that you can find in the description. Adam's gonna read it. I'm not gonna read it because I don't give a fuck.
To Adam.
Yeah, so Adam, this is your video, so you should
Say something?
say something.
Okay, guys. Thanks for watching. Stay woke. Black Lives. Peace out. I need help. I've been locked in the Jerry's basement for years.
What the fuck you say?
What the fuck?